thank you very much for everyone to be here and to be with me. Thanks to Thomas and Jerry that provided me this platform to kind of talk to you a little bit about Civalgo and mostly talk to you about what we consider data-driven estimating from planning to project controls. So with that said, for those of you that have been in the construction industry for a while now, you're all probably aware that construction is really about, if I can move to my slides here, I'm having some, just give me a second. I'm having some, all right, is that gonna work? All right, so for those of you that basically have been in the construction industry, you're aware that the construction industry is about people, process, and technology, and it's mostly about relationships. But that hasn't changed in the past, and it's not going to be changing in the future, in the sense that we always have, construction industry is all about relationship, and it's all about how properly people are able to collaborate among themselves to execute a project outcome. And hence why collaboration is one of the most important pieces of any construction project in order to deliver it. But also all of the processes, if we don't have the right standardized processes, the right technology that goes with those processes, as you know, it's not going to execute properly, and we're going to run into problems and issues. One thing I can tell you, historically, even today, most small and mid-market construction organizations rely on, experienced estimators, planners, managers, and negotiators to deliver satisfactory project outcomes. But sometimes this is not enough. Project varies significantly in cost, and too many suffer budget overruns and construction delays. And what I did today here, I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a recap of some construction project cost overrun statistics that you can consult later after this presentation. But really here, what I wanted to kind of touch base on is construction projects typically span months and years, and in that time they involve a lot of different moving parts. It can be tricky sometimes to tease apart all of those pieces and to measure which will contribute to driving efficiency and which will lead to construction project overruns. Inevitably, with long-term projects of this type, the original plan ends up as more of a, I would say, a guidance than a blueprint. Changes are made along the way, and those changes are almost like always impact the project budget and lead to cost overruns. And here you can see some of those statistics, but if we really try to kind of group them together, some of the causes of those cost overruns include inaccurate project estimates and project scopes, design error, project design errors, unforeseen project changes, administration errors. Most of it, a lot, is due to poor communication and collaboration among the teams, underestimating the timeline required. Design errors or inadequate scope in the original project estimate frequently result in midstream project changes, which increase most probably the overall cost as well as the delivery timeline. Underestimating the timeline could delay other projects from going to bid until a current project is completed. It can also throw off sequencing of related projects or phasing with large projects. In short, I want to kind of give you here that construction project cost overrun is a huge industry problem, as most of you probably already know. Problem that's costing billions of dollars each year. And the proof is in numbers. Some of the most recent studies have found that an average nationwide construction project can exceed up to or by 16% of the minimum, and often far more. Many lenders recommend including even a 20% contingency right off the bat for cost overruns. Imagine a 20% salary increase, and you'll have a good idea of what significant expansion this is. Remember, this is an average across all projects, not a one-time overrun. So with that said, this you can consult. I presume the CanBIM platform will provide with you this presentation. So I would really suggest you guys to kind of take a look at some of those studies and some of those statistics. It's mind-blowing when you start looking at them. But with that, with those statistics, it was time for to really try to go a little bit further and to try to see, to dig a little bit deeper, if you wish, into what exactly what exactly is the actual problem. So with that said, what we here at Civalgo we did is we tried to really dig a little bit deeper into the problem. And I'm trying to change here again my slide. For some reason, it's not willing to. All right, perfect. So what I was saying is that we had to go deeper and try to really investigate what was the issue and what was the problem here. What we found is by talking to 250 contractors through the United States and Canada, that most contractors didn't have a proper planning process. Contractor teams didn't have a reliable, standardized way to create upfront estimates of project costs, and were having troubles basically obtaining real production factors and past cost history of their projects. Most small to mid-market contractors had to base their budgets on personal experience of similar jobs or use other means as a baseline. You know, by talking to those 250 contractors, we realized that these problems were occurring, and we decided to really organize them into these three different operational challenges. And this is exactly what we based Civalgo platform on. And most of them are based on planning, field execution, and project controls. All of those 250 contractors were doing planning into all sorts of environments, P6, Microsoft Project, Excel spreadsheets, into all sorts of different other tools like whiteboards, posters on the wall. And these are for all or most of all mid-market contractors. So really it was incredible for me to see that while talking to those guys, because everything was disconnected. The planning was not linked to field execution. Therefore, everything was on a separate piece of paper, including Excel spreadsheets, including daily logs were separate, but nothing was linked to the actual plan that they've done, either from a short-term plan or long-term plan. Everything was updated manually. A lot of basically transactional processes were wasted, and field and engineering time was wasted. Through all of that, as well, you add to this whole thing the manual entry and execution of data and payroll and accounting. It creates even more problems. And then we're asking the project managers and the project engineers and the estimators to do a bunch of Excel spreadsheets to try to figure out the progress of the project and understand where and how they're supposed to look at this. And unfortunately, that doesn't really provide them access to the data, which is the most important information in order to see not only progress, but be able to find production factors and so forth in your job, which will be very useful from an estimator perspective in order to provide a baseline for future projects. So with that said, what we decided at Civalgo is to really focus our mission on raising the bar day after day in terms of profitability, productivity, and operational efficiency by capturing significant amounts of data from the estimate to project controls of a project, and by making all of those people here collaborate together. And we've been pretty successful here in the past year and a half with quite a few contractors that have signed up and started using our platform, and the results are pretty astonishing. We went from estimate to project controls. By integrating all of these pieces together, we're basically saving companies between 20 to 40% on transaction costs, and really also providing them a better platform in terms of how they can link everything together. So remember those cost overruns and these problematic statistics that I was providing you before? Well, these are tightly linked most of the time because of that not organized plan, and not everything is tied together into a proper system from estimate to project controls, which provides an efficiency of collaborations, of all sorts of different other problems that provide these statistics that we saw before. But with that said, what we decided as Civalgo is to really create what we call anything from the field. So basically, we're trying to capture the most amount of data from the field into what we call structured data in project past cost learning structure. These projects are also, at Civalgo, we categorize them into dozens of basic archetypes, such as bridges, roads, buildings, and that is what we call our learning past cost structure. We start by isolating which factors had the biggest impact on overall project cost as the company executes its projects. We accumulate factors that had biggest impacts on project cost. Eventually, from project to project, these archetypes through our data analytics platform, we can have the ones that matter the most to the organization. Some are predictable. For example, in road construction, for example, top factors included the road's length, number of lanes, location, if it's an urban area, suburban, rural, the choices of construction materials. But other were less obvious, such as need to comply with severe weather standards in certain locations, and so forth. But mostly we use regression techniques to quantify the influence of critical factors on project cost. Using this categorization analysis and using our past cost history learning algorithms, we're able to provide necessary analysis with production factors, producing better and more robust future estimate baselines. And we're also currently working on using our learning structure to create our basic predictive estimating cost platform for future construction projects with what we believe at one point, once we have enough projects in the system, we'll have a very good and high degree of accuracy using only a few input variables. So as you see, our goal here is to download and to gather the most amount of data from the field and organize it. And that data can come through our IoT platform. It can come up through our manual entry of data, through all sorts of mechanisms of capturing that data and structuring it into what we call our past cost learning structure. Really, one thing that's important as well, and this is basically the basis of our system. Our system is designed into these interlinked, if you wish, modules. The system provides a very smooth environment directly from master of schedule to short-term schedule to field execution and project controls, and also providing a full payroll analysis and automation. And on top of that sits a data visualization platform that provides the ability to do anything in terms of business intelligence reporting and analytics of the data, or plug it to other data sources in order to execute. What's really interesting with our platform as well is that it provides this environment for estimators that through our data visualization platform, you're able to really create baselines for production factors, estimators, as I talked, through our learning structure of past cost, which is a huge value through experience with our current clients. So with that said, the intent for us on the long run is to be able to provide companies with the right amount of data, if you wish, to centralize, execute their information, and provide better predictive estimating system for future projects. So that's kind of an overall perspective of how at Civalgo we're looking at this. Obviously, one of the biggest challenges in some of those things is change and adoption, and this is something that currently the industry is struggling quite a bit in terms of how and where they're able to accomplish this. It is very interesting to see how people in the industry are categorizing the current platforms and how they're using them as well. Over time, we learned that a lot of the estimators currently that we've talked to, they in their head, they probably have only 1 to 5 type of projects based on which they use to do the estimating. But most of the time, they go back in the field, they're asked questions back and forth. All of this is loss of time. Imagine being able to really just click a button from the planning or from the field execution or from the project controls through the data visualization platform, and you're able to automatically view, for example, production factors that are really based on the type and scope of work. And let's say you provide some input variables in there, and you're able to pull out an automated project estimate for a future project that you're bidding. So basically, you fill out a couple of different input variables, and then you're able, based on all of that past cost history and based on the different ways that you executed, because we have what happened from planning to delays to weather conditions on a specific locations, and all of that data is accumulated in the system, we're able truly to harness the power of data. And that's the basis of any type of predictive estimating solution that we're trying to basically put in place. And a lot of the clients that we have, based on some of their comments, it's truly something that they have not yet experienced because the mid-market is still very young in terms of technology. And I often see in the it's kind of interesting, but I often see people going and buying products out there, and but we got to understand that the mid-market does not have a lot of IT personnel within their companies. They don't have a lot of technological knowledge to be able to go by themselves through a digital transformation. Therefore, they're just buying pieces of the different workflows and pieces of different products, but without necessarily understanding how this would fit in their overall business process and things like that. So often enough, we end up really helping them going through the process of what we call digital transformation of the of their company, and really trying to help them understand how this works. So with that, I mean, I kind of covered a lot of the basics of how and what we do. But really, the interesting part is, depending on the maturity of company we usually do, we're able to go from 20 to 40% in savings in terms of how they were using their current processes as is, and once they start using Civalgo. Again, I want to kind of end up with a few things here. Civalgo really, even our slogan is "Your data at work," and there is a good reason for this. I believe that the most amount of data we can harness inside a project, with all of the specific information in real time from the field, and that, I mean, from including gathering of information from IoT devices and telematics and other sensor devices, from concrete maturity sensors to tension sensors, or any other type of sensors in the that we can get from the field, will provide us the necessary capability to really have a real intelligence and provide accurate results when we start planning, estimating, and so forth. Really, the big data that we're accumulating here is to try to provide our companies that are using our product the most amount of information about their operation in order to make the right decisions. And with that, I think I kind of covered what I wanted to cover today with you guys. If there is any questions, anything like that you might want to talk to me, you can directly send me a message. You can send me a message directly on my email, or you can contact us to our booth and I will be very happy to take the time and answer those to you. So hopefully that kind of covered quite a bit of what we had today that I wanted to cover with you, and it kind of gave you a little bit of an understanding of where our platform is going and how we're thinking about the industry in the mid-market. This is something that we've been in the making, and we're going to continue to grow. And hopefully with some of you, we'll be able to even expand our horizons. So definitely I would love to hear any questions in our booth that you might have. My partner Alex Shampoo would be there in the booth, and myself, or Andres, who will be able to help you guys with any kind of questions you might have after this presentation. So with that, Jerry, I will let it back to you. If there is anything else, please let me know.